Welcome to Study Loop.
This is the answer to Chapter 22, problem number 40 from the Smith Organic Chemistry textbook. And this problem is just asking us to name several molecules. And so we just need to know the rules of naming. And so A is going to be 2,2-dimethyl propanyl chloride, or propanoil chloride. So it's an acid chloride, so we know it's going to end in chloride. We're going to name it by its longest chain, which is 1, 2, 3 carbons. So that's where the propanoil comes. Cyclohexyl pentanoate. So remember, this is an ester. The correct way to name an ester is to start with the group that's on the ester oxygen. So in this case, it's a cyclohexane. So that's the cyclohexyl. And then we just name it by its chain and put O8 after it. So it's a 5-carbon chain. So it's pentanoate. So it's cyclohexyl pentanoate. So for C, we have an anhydride. So we know it'll end in anhydride. It's cyclohexane groups. It's a symmetric anhydride. So it's going to be cyclohexane, and then since there is a carboxylate group on each, it will be cyclohexane carboxylic anhydride. Carboxylic anhydride. And so that's C. So for D, we have another ester again. So just as we did for B, we will name it first by the group on the oxygen. So phenyl, and then by the rest of it. And the rest of it is a phenyl acetate. So it's going to be phenyl acetate. Phenyl acetate for D. So E is an amide, and the way that we will name E is we start with the substituent on the amide nitrogen, and so in this case it's a cyclohexane. So so we'll call this N. Cyclohexylbenzamide. Cyclohexyl, and then since it's a phenyl group over here, a benzene ring, and an amide, it will be N-cyclohexyl benzamide. All right, and that's E. So then for F, we have a benzene ring with 2 substituents, one of which is a nitrile. So this name will end in nitrile. We know that since it's a disubstituted benzene ring. We have language that tells us about the substitution patterns. So it's going to be M for meta, because these are meta substituted. And it's going to be M chloro benzonitrile. Chloro benzonitrile. And so this tells us it's a benzene ring with a chlorine and a nitrile substituent, and that their relationship is meta to one another. So then for G, we know that this is going to end in chloride because it's an acid chloride. And then we just need to name it by the chain. And so if the carbonyl carbon is 1, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So there's a phenyl substituent on 3. So we will call this 3 phenyl propanoyl chloride. Propane for the propane chain. And then remember, since it's an acid chloride, it's going to be oil. So propanoyl chloride. All right. So then looking at H, we have a cyclohexane with substituents with stereochemistry. So we're going to start by naming their relationship. So it's a cis relationship. They're on the same side. The carbonyl carbon will get precedence. So if that's position 1 on the ring, the bromine is going to be at position 2. So we'll call this cis 2 bromo. Then we'll name it as a cyclohexane, which it is. And then carbonyl chloride. So it's a cyclohexane with a bromine at the 2 position, and this acid chloride. And since it's just a carbon, we'll call it carbonyl chloride. And they are cis to one another. And so that's the full name there for H. So for I, we have another amide. So remember, we're going to start with what is on the nitrogen of the amide. So in this case, there's 2 things on the nitrogen. So it will be NN diethyl for the 2 ethyl groups on the nitrogen. And then we'll just name the rest of it. Cyclohexane carboxamide. Cyclohexane carboxamide. For the cyclohexane group over here, obviously. And then we do need to include in the name the fact that there is a carbonyl group here. So that's where the carboxamide comes from. All right. And then so lastly, J. J is another ester. And so we'll start with what's on the oxygen. So it's a cyclopentyl group. So cyclopentyl. And then we'll name the rest of it. Cyclohexane carboxylate. And remember, if this were an open chain instead, if it were a 6-membered chain instead of a 6-membered ring, we would just call it cyclopentyl hexane 08. But it is a ring, so we do need to call it cyclohexane. And then we need to account for the fact there is a carbonyl here. So it's cyclohexane carboxylate. And so that is the answer to J. And overall, that is the answer to chapter 22, problem number 40.